What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, I wanted to give the Furt and Tinkaton core a go in the Open Great League. I feel like these two really complement each other. We have Tinkaton, which is a little bit weak to the Mud Slappers and the Fire types, and Furt can easily deal with them. And then Furt weak to the Dark and Fighting type Pokemon, of which Tinkaton has a lot of play. So let's get into the battles and see what this core can do. All right, getting into the first game of the day, we have our Furt as our lead up against a Tinkaton. All right, not a great lead matchup here. Tinkaton obviously resisting normal, dark, and grass type damage, so one of the worst leads we could see here. With that said, we safe swap our Claydol and are met by a Shadow Blastoise. On the face of things here, you might expect this to be a pretty bad matchup for us. We know Blastoise is going to have super effective Hydro Cannon against us, but because we can debuff them, and because they're running Rollout as their fast move, I think we can survive one move, not even be in risk of getting fast moved down by these rollouts here, and we should be in a pretty good spot as long as we play our cards right in this game. We do survive that first move. After that first drop tomb debuff, fantastic stuff from our Claydol here, and comes another Hydro Cannon, and we are able to shield to survive that move. In comes our Rock Tomb. At this point, if they do let it go, they're going to be in a range where I think I can knock them out with this Rock Tomb. If they shield that, there's a chance I could have Mud Slapped down. They don't want to let that happen. Instead, they let that go. What are they going to bring in now? Our opponent is thinking in comes a Galarian Moltres, a shiny Galarian Moltres at that. Very cool Pokemon right now, but I know I can reach a Rock Tomb. Our opponent, though, makes a fantastic catch on a Tinkaton. This is a little bit unfortunate here. Tinkaton obviously is weak to Mud Slap, but it resists all of Claydol's moves, and I know there's no play for a Furt in this game, mainly because Furt is going to have to do either resisted Sucker Punch damage against this Tinkaton here, or against that Moltres. So what I'm going to do instead of bringing it into the Moltres is I know Moltres is completely hardwalled by our Tinkaton. I'm going to bring in our Furt into a debuff Tinkaton of our opponents here, and we should be able to win this game just by using our damage with our Furt, with our boosted damage after that Trailblaze, and landing boosted Swifts either against this Pokemon or against the Moltres in the backline. We shield up that play rough, so at this point we are down shields, but I know Moltres doesn't have a lot of damage into our Tinkaton, so we should be able to either draw a shield with their Swift, or maybe even put them into a farm down range if they opt to let this go on their Moltres right now. In comes the Swift. What is our opponent going to do right now? Swift ends up landing. Our opponent lets it go because that means now it's in Fairy Wind range. We don't need to throw any sort of moves. Just tap our screen here. Fairy Wind is honestly doing quite a bit of damage, which is crazy, saying Tinkaton is already such a bulky Pokemon. Our opponent going for a charge of Ancient Power, a very smart play, because if they get a boost, maybe there's a chance they can knock us out, but since they did not, they are not able to. GG there to our opponent. Next game, going to see a Shadow Swampert as our opponent's lead. A bit of an awkward Pokemon for our whole team. Furt is probably our best matchup here. Sucker Punch does add up quite a bit. And I mean, if we could end up landing a Trailblaze, which I doubt we ever will here, they're likely going to shield, then we could one-shot them. In comes a Charge Move. The Hydro Cannon will do a lot of damage. Mudshot is not the most efficient fast move as far as damage output, but these Hydro Cannons more than make up for it, meaning that our Furt, the longer this goes on, the worse it gets for us. Sucker Punch is going to do quite a bit of damage after boosting our attack stat. They make a nice catch on a Lapras, it looks like here. Swift going to be thrown. It is at +1, so it's going to be a decent amount of damage. Our opponent actually has a Shadow Lapras. That's pretty cool. Our Tinkaton should be able to wall this energy and fast move pressure, although the thing is, this is a Shadow Lapras, right? The Sideways here are doing 2 damage rather than 1 like the regular Lapras. Potentially that makes this matchup much worse for Tinkaton. It's not looking great for us right now. Let's see what we can do. I'm going to go for the play rough right now. This should be able to get a knockout against the Shadow Lapras. They're already down 1 shield. Do they want to go down 2? They do, I guess. Okay, interesting play by our opponent here. And I'm going to overfarm, but our opponent reaches a charge move. Maybe a bit of a misplay by us here. I know they have a lot of energy on that Swampert. I can't afford to shield this when Hydro Cannons are loaded in the backline. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invest in a Mud Slap down. I feel like at this point, our Claydol should be able to reach a charge move against that Swampert before a second Hydro Cannon will be reached against us. Obviously, I have to shield a Hydro, or a Shadow rather, sorry, Aria, as well as a Shadow Hydro Cannon here in this game. That is where my 2 shields will be going. Our opponent thinking for a second, who do they bring in, Swampert or their final Pokemon? They bring in the Tinkaton as their final Pokemon here. Potentially a good matchup for a Claydol, right? We have the super effective Mud Slap damage, but our charge moves don't really go too far in this matchup. I'm going to no-shield the play rough. It doesn't do too much damage to us right now, but in comes the Shadow Swampert. They are 3 away from the next Hydro Cannon, so I have to shield this up, and I have to throw energy if I want to knock out this Pokemon. I go instantly for the Rock Tomb here. We are at 100 energy, no reason to overfarm right now. Rock Tomb should get the knockout, and now we should be able to reach a Rock Tomb against this Tinkaton. With that said, that first play rough honestly did quite a bit of damage to us here. I'm kind of concerned I won't be able to knock out this Pokemon with that remaining Mud Slap damage that I can get off before their next charge move will be reached. In comes another play rough. Yeah, I mean, that's not Sucker Punch downrange. Are we about to lose to a Tinkaton against our Claydol? Play rough knocks us out. But yeah, our Sucker Punches from our Furt, not enough damage. GG there to our opponent. Very well played. All right, next matchup, it's a Furt in the lead up against a Skeledirge, so a Pokemon we have super effective Sucker Punch damage into, but our charge moves aren't all that effective. In comes, man, I did not know what that was the second I saw the typing here. It is a Paldean Tauros, a fighting and water type Pokemon, also a Pokemon that we have our Tinkaton to try to answer. Aqua Jet, though, does quite a bit of damage here. Fairy Wind is doing a lot to them, though, and they throw on Alignment, which might be good for us. I get a full Fairy Wind sneak. I think I survived this move, and the thing is, I'm not that worried about the Skeletorge right now, so I'm fine letting this go. If they want to shield, they can be my guest. I'll just try to Mud Slap down with our Claydol, and maybe we'll be in a good spot. In comes our Claydol here. Mudslap able to do quite a bit of damage. These double kicks not doing too much to us, but I have no idea what's in the back line, and it might be able to reach another move here. Tauros is very spammy with these moves, and comes a Jumpluff. I'm going to go for the Ice Beam. Does our opponent go for the shield, or will they let this go? Ice Beam, if it ends up landing, is going to do a critical amount of damage. If it goes shielded, though, that's kind of annoying. I wish I would have gone for the debuff with our Rock Tomb instead, and I end up bringing in Furt here to absorb all the energy that I can. This is so awkward, though, at this point. I know Claydol is going to have an uphill battle in the back line. Our Furt, I mean, it would have been kind of fine, I guess, against that Skeletorge, but the less shields in play, the less good it is for me here. So I wanted to get it into a place that I could at least get some fast move pressure and charge move pressure into, rather than just fast move pressure. In comes a Swift here into the Shadow Jumpluff. I feel like at this point, our Furt will be able to whittle down this Jumpluff quite a bit, but it won't be quite enough here to knock them out. In comes a Charge of Aerial Ace, might not knock us out, Acrobatics would. They go for the bait, and now we're going to swap out here to our Tauros, or to our Claydol rather, to counter swap this Tauros. We have a bit of HP left over on our Furt. I have to shield an Aqua Jet. It would do a massive amount of damage, probably put us into a fast move farm down range, but I know our opponent in the backline still has that Skeletorge, which is at full HP. I have Mud Slap, I have Rock Tomb, both being super effective here, but Skeletorge is potentially not going to get knocked out here. I know Claydol doesn't have the most damage output in the game. Can we knock this out with this Rock Tomb plus 2 more Mud Slaps? It's going to be very close. I think, though, that we can. Skeletorge ends up going down, and comes the Jumpluff. If they don't have an Acrobatics, we can reach this Rock Tomb here, knock them out, and barely take the win in this game here. Claydol able to reach the Rock Tomb, knock out the Jumpluff, GG to our opponent. All right, next matchup, we're going to see our Furret in the lead up against a Claydol. Very good lead matchup. I have Sucker Punch as well as Trailblaze for this, although if they do ever end up getting up energy later on this game, it could be a little bit awkward knowing that Claydol is able to do a lot of neutral, fast, and charging pressure against our Furret. In comes a Charjabug, and we respond with a Swift here to try our very best to whittle down this Pokemon. I know we have our Claydol, which could be an answer to it, but they also have access to X-Scissors, so rather than coming in Claydol, I'm going to bring in Tinkaton, because it feels like they're trying to bait out a Mud Slapper. This charge comes through, it does quite a bit of damage to us, but not anywhere near enough to two-shot us right now. I think at this point, Tinkaton can overfarm, try to throw a Charge Move here before their next discharge, and potentially keep switch advantage in our favor. I am a little bit worried, though, that in the backline, or we saw in the lead, right, there's that Claydol that could potentially farm us down, and as I was saying, their neutral, fast, and charging pressure could be a little bit awkward for us. I do reach a Bulldoze here right before getting Mud Slap down, but they get quite a few Mud Slaps for their troubles. Bulldoze, not known for doing too much damage here, doesn't even get a defense drop, but they do instantly swap out to their own Tinkaton. Thankfully, our own Claydol should be able to farm this all the way down, and we should be able to win this game. I go for the Rock Tomb here. I feel like at this point, I don't want to just go over 100 energy. Might as well debuff them before they throw a Charge Move in. At this point, I can farm this down, and they realize at that point, not much they could do. All right, for next game up against a Shadow Jumpluff. Honestly, I don't like being the Furret in this matchup. I've played this matchup out as the Jumpluff many times. I know exactly what to do here. You can just reach 2 Acrobatics in the Zero Shield matchup. Your opponent, even if they end up shielding, won't have a lot of energy left over, and they'll be deep into the red. So Furret, if I want to win this matchup, is going to be in a very bad spot. In comes the first charge move. I would really hope they bait us, but I know there's really no reason for them to. Yeah, Acrobatics comes through, does a crippling amount of damage, but I can go for a Swift myself, potentially try to chip them down into the red. Let's see what our opponent's going to do. They do let that move go, which is nice for us here. I'm going to attempt to catch on our Tinkaton. We do reach the catch here on likely an Aerial Ace, which means now our Tinkaton should be able to absorb this damage and potentially have play into the backline. Our opponent actually ends up bringing in a Charjabug of all things here. Not exactly a great answer to our Tinkaton, but it is a Pokemon that is a little bit spammier than us. It might be able to reach 2 discharges, and after that Aerial Ace chip damage, there's a chance a second discharge could knock us out. Player off being thrown, how much damage is this going to do? I don't think it's going to put him into Bulldoze range, because who knows, Bulldoze is not a great move here. Player off able to land. Our opponent is going to throw a move right before my next charge attack here. Good counting by them. I'll just no-shield this move. Maybe I survive this move. I don't think I do. No, we don't survive, unfortunately, here. And now Claydol going to try for a very ambitious farm down. The worst thing about this is we do have to shield these X-Scissors here, right? But we will get a lot of energy out of this matchup, which could be potentially helpful here for us. Our opponent in the backline having a Malamar. That's not looking good for us right now. If we had our Tinkaton for this would be fantastic for us. But because we don't, because Tinkaton ended up lining up into the one Pokemon they had that was kind of good into it, we're not in a great spot. Foul Play being thrown against us, it's going to do a decent amount of damage, but they are debuffed, which means it won't quite two-shot us here, but after the side wave damage, it will definitely be able to knock us out here the longer this matchup goes on. I feel like at this point I do have to shield this move. If I don't, I have no HP on my Furt. I would have no HP on Claydol. I would likely just lose this game. So we go for the Rock Tomb. Let's see if our opponent is going to shield or if they let us go. We have a bit of HP, a bit of energy as well on our Furt here. Our opponent is going to try to go for, oh man, they go for the call of the combo play. I tried to go for a catch here. Unfortunately, because of that, now, oh man, I don't even get the knockout here on the jump up. We get a Simul KO. All of my energy to waste there. GG to our opponent. All right, next matchup is a Shadow Drapion in the lead. Not a fantastic lead matchup, but we have two very hard answers to this in the backline with our Claydol as well as our Tinkaton. They counter swap with a Bombirdier, and man, I really wish I was leading my Tinkaton right now. 2 games in a row here where our opponent is just extremely weak to a Tinkaton lead. With that said, our Rock Tombs will still be able to do quite a bit of damage, maybe get shields from them. Let's see what our opponent's going to do. They do end up shielding that first move, which is kind of nice for us here. But this is a little bit awkward still, right? I know I get knocked out by this fly, and I know our Furt cannot really go for a farm down against this. It would take a lot of damage if I brought that back in. So instead, I'm going to bring in our Tinkaton here and see what we can do. I'm going to no-shield their debuff thanks to that Rock Tomb that we landed against them earlier. They go for a fly. It does a decent chunk of our HP, and our opponent then swaps into an Azu, potentially opening up this endgame for us right now. Trailblaze is going to be super effective into Azumarill, but they are also a Pokemon that I know is very bulky. Our fast moves are resisted. I'm not sure that I can go for a full farm down in the Zero Shield matchup before they can reach 2 charge attacks against our Furt. Bubble's going to add up here. It's going to reach a charge move. What are they going to throw? It could be a Hydro Pump with how much energy they have, but instead they go for a Play Rough. It does a decent chunk to us. At this point, Furt will land another Trailblaze, but I don't think we can get that farm down here before their next charge move. I think we could have either 2 options here this game. I could shield this and farm down, or potentially I could invest everything in our Tinkaton. Maybe I should have shielded this move because now there is a possibility that this Bombirdier can come in, go for potentially a Rock Tomb against us to debuff our attack stat permanently. This could be a little bit awkward for us if that's what they end up doing. Player does get a shield from them. They go for a charge move. I have to shield something this game. I think it might be a fly, but it could be a Rock Tomb bait. They go for the Rock Tomb, and while that is a more expensive move, it is kind of a bait because they get the attack drop as well. I am going to go for a full farm down and just hope at this point that I can knock out the Drapion. In comes the fly. It does end up getting shielded, so no double debuff. That's fantastic to see, but our opponent at this point has a decent amount of HP left over on that Azumarill and on this Drapion. Can Tinkaton do it here in the backline? Bulldoze ends up landing. Our opponent gets the defense drop against them, but they CMP on the Aqua Tail, which means now I have to take a ton of damage. I'm not sure we can survive this, but even if we can, I'm not sure we're healthy enough here to Fairy Wind down the Azu. I think this Play Rough is going to knock them out. It does do quite a bit more damage than a Bulldoze. Thanks to that defense drop, it is going to knock out, but Azu comes in, and they are just healthy enough to survive the Fairy Winds there. GG to our opponent. All right, next matchup, it's going to be a Dugong in the lead against our Furt, a very neutral matchup here, but we do have super effective Trailblaze, so they do swap out to a Charjabug once again. A lot of Charjabugs today. I'm not quite sure why, but it is a Pokemon we don't have a hard answer for. So what I'm going to do is Swift, Chip, and Dip, and then try to catch an X-Scissor on our Tinkaton. Looks like we were able to get it, unless for some reason they went for a Discharge here against our Furt. Let's see what they're going to throw. It's an X-Scissor. We're able to easily survive that move, and at this point, I can overfarm as much energy as we want to with our Tinkaton, and we should be in a fantastic spot. In comes a Discharge against us here. It does do a decent amount of damage, but we are now just barely below half HP. I know for a fact I can survive this move, but potentially I should have thrown a move here before this, because now this Discharge might put us into Ice Shard downrange, which could be a little bit awkward. Bulldoze being thrown, it will do a decent amount of damage. I mean, I shouldn't say that it's a bad move. It's enough, though, to knock out the Charjabug, which means we're able to then land a player against this Dugong, and potentially be able to put them into a range where Trailblaze or Rock Tomb could knock them out later on. In comes the player if our opponent is going to opt for the no-shield, and then they come in with a Serperior, potentially one of the most awkward Pokemon I could see in the backline. They have a lot of energy left over on that Dugong. They as well are going to have an energy lead on this Serperior, but I'm able to go for a Swift before the first Frenzy Plant. At this point, our Sucker Punches are going to try to do as much damage as they can, but I'm not quite sure how we can win this game. That Dugong in the backline is going to be so annoying to deal with once shields go down. They also go for an Aerial Ace bait, which is even worse for us right now. Now they're going to pace the moves even quicker than they would otherwise. In comes a Trailblaze to boost our attack stat. They do end up shielding that move, which is good for us to see, but I have to double shield at this point with our Furt. Let's see what they're going to throw. They go for yet another Aerial Ace bait. Not what we want to see here. I go for the Swift. Our opponent catches on a Dugong, meaning they still have a shield in play this game. This is going to get more and more awkward by the moment. I'm going to go for one more Sucker Punch, then swap out. Our opponent does go for an Icy Wind here. Does Claydol have enough energy or HP at this point to be able to knock out this Dugong? In comes a Rock Tomb here. It's going to be able to outpace just barely before the next Icy Wind. This will knock out if they let it go. If they shield this move up, then I don't know exactly how this game's going to go. They do no shield. I need to fast move down the Serperior before they can get to back-to-back charges. Our opponent is not going to be healthy enough. We can barely Mud Shot down, or Mud Slap down, that is. GG there to our opponent. All right, next game, Furret into a Furret, a very interesting lead matchup. Let's see how our opponent plays this out. I know against bad Furrets, I'm able to go straight Trailblaze in the Zero Shield matchup, or rather the 1-0 Shield matchup, go for a complete farm down, and if I can, then we have a boosted Furret with a ton of energy in the back line. So that's what I'm going to try for right now. Let's see how good our opponent's Furret is going to be. Trailblaze being thrown, how much damage does this do? Honestly, not too much, but what it does do is it boosts our Sucker Punch damage, so the longer this goes on, the better it's going to be for my Furret. In comes another Swift here. We will shield it up, but honestly, they're looking a little bit healthy. I'm not quite sure that I can farm them all the way down. So if I can't, I'm going to try to go for a catch on our Tinkaton. We do catch. They survived on 1 HP. I can't believe it here. That is absolutely terrible news for us right now. Swift able to do a decent chunk of damage to us here, and then they come in with a Gastradon. So not a great spot to be in, but we'll have to see what's in the back. Rough is going to do a decent chunk of damage to them, but once again, Gastrodon is bulky, same with Tinkaton, so it's not going to be able to one-shot them here, not even come close to put them to a fast move farm down range for a Tinkaton, but they will throw energy before my next Bulldoze will be reached. If this is a Body Slam, there's a chance I'd survive, maybe, no, I guess not. We end up getting knocked out here, and we go for a catch on our Claydol. They go instantly for a charge move, likely going to be a Body Slam here, so that means we don't have to shield this move up, and now maybe just shield once, farm all the way down, and that's only if they even get to an Earth Power. That's only going to be a Body Slam. I don't like how low I am on everything right now, but I feel like I can't shield a Body Slam at this point. That would be the one way that I wouldn't really have any win conditions here. In comes a Pidgeot. It looks like it's their final Pokemon. This is not looking fantastic. Our Mudslaps are resisted, and I think they can survive one charge move from my Claydol, which is not exactly what I want to see. And these Gusts are going to do a lot of damage despite that debuff because it is a very high damaging fast move. In comes another Rock Tomb. Our opponent might double shield at this point. Our Furret does have a lot of energy, but I don't think Swift is enough to two-shot, which means I think at this point our opponent has us in the corner. In comes Swift. It's going to be able to do a decent chunk, but nowhere near enough damage to two-shot, and because of that, it's looking like this game is going to be over for us. Swift being thrown, is it somehow enough? No, not even close here. In comes our Claydol, and at this point, not much we can do. They're double debuffed. Maybe there's a chance I survive this move. It doesn't even matter, though. There's still a Furret in the back line. We'll get out of here. GG to our opponent. All right, next matchup, going to see a Furret in the lead against a Galarian Weezing, a Pokemon which is not great for us to see in the lead scenario, but it's a Pokemon that we do have a little bit of play into, potentially if we get shields down. And comes our Claydol as our safe swap. A Golisopod is going to counter swap into us here. Not a great matchup, but the thing is, we do have super effective Rock Tomb, and after one debuff in the one shield matchup, you can actually reach a second Rock Tomb here against Golisopod and win the ones just straight up. And comes that first debuff, as we were saying, the Shadow Claws are adding up, and Aqua Jet is a very strong move, but Claydol is kind of bulky, and after the -1 debuff here, it's not going to be that bad for us to end up going for that no shield and into the Rock Tomb play. In comes a move. What does our opponent end up doing? They opt to double shield, actually, on this Pokemon, which means now we might be able to farm down. No, they actually swap out. Man, I really wanted that farm down here. Now this is going to be so awkward, really depending on the moveset of this Weezing. If this is on Brutal Swing and Sludge, this is not that bad of a spot to be in, but if this has Overheat, this is not looking good for us right now. We don't get a debuff with that Bulldoze here. They throw a charge move. I'm going to call that they don't have the move, but of course they do. It does a crippling amount of damage, and even after that debuff, we're taking a lot of damage from these Fairy Winds. They can farm us all the way down here, maybe even land another move against our Furret. Another Bulldoze, another no debuff for us, which means they're able to get to another move against us. This Overheat is going to do a decent chunk despite them being debuffed. We're almost at half HP. Their final Pokemon revealed as a Blastoise. This is not looking great for us because unless we can knock them out before they get to a Hydro Cannon, then there's really no chance we can win this game. They have a lot of energy on that Golisopod. They cleared their debuffs, which means at this point, Blastoise is going to be able to draw our final shield, and with doing that, win the game for our opponent. Hydro Cannon does come through, and because at this point we can't even Sucker Punch down, we'll just top left GG there to our opponent. Very well played and very cool team. Next matchup is a Furret into an Alolan Sandslash, a pretty awkward lead matchup, actually. If they were on Shadow Claw, it wouldn't be that bad for us, but because it is Powder Snow, it means that they have a lot more fast move pressure here, and it makes it so a Furret with only resisted charge moves is going to have a rough go of this matchup. In comes a Trailblaze. It does put them below half HP, so while we do have only resisted charge moves here, you can see just how much damage these Sucker Punches are doing, especially after that Trailblaze boost. This matchup isn't as bad as can be. In comes another charge move here. I think at this point, I do want to whittle this down just a bit more to make it so our Tinkaton doesn't have to deal with this Pokemon, at least not from this HP range. We go for a Swift here. Does our opponent shield? Do they let this go? Let's see what's about to happen. In comes the Swift. It is able to knock them out, and they end up bringing in a Shadow Drapion. We have a boosted Swift ready to go, but we also have two Pokemon in the back lane, very strong against this Pokemon. I don't think I want to give this Drapion a full farm down, so instead swap in to our Claydol and see what they want to do. They go for a crunch before swapping out. That's fine by me. At this point, Claydol is just trying to make sure that this Drapion is not that big of a problem for us. And of course, Drapion, whenever you see that Pokemon, very high chance there's an Azu in the backline with it, which means while this isn't the greatest matchup for our Claydol, our Tinkaton is honestly looking like it's in a pretty good spot. We go for a Rock Tomb debuff, but I don't think it's quite enough here to mitigate the damage. They're able to bubble us down right before the next charge move, or fast move rather, knocks us out, which means no second debuff, and also just a little bit less chip damage than I could have got. Ice Beam with that debuff does so little damage to our Tinkaton. We resist all the charge moves aside from Hydro Pump if they end up having it, but I'm going to call that they don't. They end up going for a Play Rough, meaning that we know at this point there is no reason to shield this Azu. We should be in a fantastic spot. Play Rough might not knock out from this range, but because Tinkaton is just such a menace against Drapion as well, we should be able to win this game by spamming out these charge moves. In comes the Bulldoze. Will it knock them out? I don't think it will from this range, but if they do end up no-shielding, I think I can just Fairy Wind down. Yeah, not quite enough damage to knock out here, but because I'm able to also just get this catch off, I guess, this is even better for us right now. Even if they didn't end up throwing the charge move, I think we could sucker punch down, so a pretty safe play one way or another, but now we can just shield this Aqua Tail. It's going to do more damage than anything the Azu has access to, and farm this down, then farm down the Azu as well, potentially winning us this game. In comes the Azu once again. We have the Fairy Wind down, not before our opponent's final charge move will be reached, but we're able to survive no matter what they're going to throw, and we should be able to win this game. Player of not quite enough damage here. Tinkaton able to close that one out for us. Oh, the rematch here. It's going to be Tomahawk. We fought this trainer earlier today. He was running the Shadow Swampert, I believe, what was it, Tinkaton and Shadow Lapras, yeah, in the back line. We kind of played it out bad the first time, I think. I think we had a lot of ways to win that game, but we were able to find the lose condition. So let's see if we can adjust this time and see if we can win this game. Last time I went for Trailblaze, so I'm going to go for the Swift Bait this time. Well, it will make it so my Sucker Punches do a little bit less damage. I don't really think that matters because I just want to get both shields from them. If I can, then my backline should be in a pretty good spot. In comes a Hydro Cannon. Swift thrown on CMP. Does our opponent shield? If they do, then I think I'm going to swap. Honestly, either way, I think I'm going to swap here. Don't want to give him a farm down. They do end up letting that go, and we simul swap. I swap into my Tinkaton. He swaps into his Shadow Lapras. Once again, we do see that these side waves do add up, but saying we know the backline matchup, right? We know it's a Tinkaton in the back. I think we're in a pretty good spot. They do end up shielding that attack, which is a little bit worrisome for us right now because I know they can outpace the two Sparkling Arias, and as we saw earlier today, these two Sparkling Arias, especially after the side wave damage, more than enough damage to knock us out, unlike the regular Lapras. In comes the next charge move. I'm just going to let this go. This might be a bit of a risky play, but I know my Claydol, as long as I don't get caught on, can easily just win this endgame. But they do have a lot of opportunities for catches right now. They have their Tinkaton in the backline. They have that Swampert at 1 HP. I obviously have to shield this charge move. I know they have no energy and very little HP on Swampert, and I know a Sparkling Aria, especially from a Shadow Lapras, is going to do a lot more damage than anything they could throw with this Tinkaton. They actually try to catch on the Tinkaton here, and while I do have to throw a charge move, I think this sets up a very nice farm down where I can go for a full Mud Slap down, have back-to-back Rock Tombs ready to go, which means at this point we should be able to win this game as long as we don't get knocked out by two debuff Play Roughs before we're able to get 100 energy and Mud Slap down all the way against this Tinkaton. We are pretty low in HP right now, but I think we do survive this move. They do have Lapras that can get a side wave or two against us, but because I have back-to-back Rock Tombs, I think we should still be fine here. In comes our next Rock Tomb. Our opponent is thinking about who to bring in. It doesn't really matter though. We have back-to-back moves. The only way they win this game is if they had a move on either the Swampert or the Lapras, and they don't have any energy on either. Rock Tomb knocks out the Swampert. Rock Tomb will then knock out this Lapras, and this game should be ours. Claydol getting a nice little sweep here in the back line. GG to our opponent. We were able to make the adjustment, and we love to see it. All right, next matchup is a Furret in the lead up against Corviknight. Not a great lead matchup here for Furret. Obviously, our charges are all resisted, and our fast moves, while they are going to do neutral damage, are non-stab, so they won't add up quite as quickly as I'd like. That attack here, too, is doing a decent amount of fast move pressure to us, which is not great to see, but it is what we have to deal with because I don't want to Tinkaton anywhere near this Pokemon. In comes a Swift. This move will do a decent chunk of damage, not anywhere near enough to get a shield or anything, but our opponent, they shield that. Okay, well, never mind, I guess. Does Furret even get a move that you'd want to shield there? I'm not sure it does. I think it's like, what, Hyper Beam, Dig, Brick Break? I'll take it, though. I'll take a shield any day of the week in this matchup. They must think right now their Corviknight is just such a strong Pokemon for them that they want to invest in it at all costs. But because of that shield and because I'm able to put them so low, I think I'm honestly in a pretty good spot here. All I need to do is do a one shield farm down with our Claydol and have a lot of energy coming out of this matchup. Generally, this is going to be their Mud Slap answer. They don't even throw a move. What is going on right now? I guess we win. GG to our opponent there. That was an interesting one. Our next game is going to be a Shadow Pidgeot in the lead. A bit of an awkward lead matchup here, mainly because these Shadow Gusts do add up, and I know Air Cutter, if it gets a boost against us, could easily farm us all the way down, but because we have a lot of fast move pressure as well as a very spammy charge move, I'm fine staying in this matchup and eliminating this threat for our Claydol later on. They are at 5. I know I survive an Air Cutter. Do they Brave Bird? They actually full send the Brave Bird. I'm going to make the ambitious call that they're going to instantly swap. So instead of coming in with our hard wall to the flying type Pokemon, I come in with our Claydol, and we are rewarded with a instant swap out into a Fortress, a Pokemon that by no means wants to be against a Mud Slapper, especially a debuffing, very bulky Mud Slapper that after landing that Rock Tomb can go for a full Mud Slap down against. And I think this is going to set us up for a very strong endgame. Earthquake after that debuff, not quite enough damage here to go for the 2-shot. These Volt Switch is doing very little damage to us as well. We can farm this all the way down and see what their final Pokemon might be. Earthquake number 2 is thrown. We are in the red. They reveal their final pick is a Quagsire, a Pokemon I haven't seen too much in this meta. A non-shadow Quagsire especially is kind of unique. Let's see if our opponent catches the move. Honestly, even if they do at this point, I think Tinkaton can win the game just by spamming out Play Roughs after landing that Ice Beam into this Pokemon. I guess I end up landing that next move here, and since at this point our Tinkaton walls all the energy on this Pidgeot, we should be in a pretty good spot here to swap in, go for Play Roughs, and see what they want to do. I'm going to no-shield. This could be a Brave Bird, but I think at this point they're going to go for an Air Cutter, or maybe a Feather Dance if they had access to that move. They do go for Air Cutter here, so I'm going to go for a Play Rough. A little bit of bad timing because I go over 100 energy, but I think we're still in a very good spot. No matter what, we should be able to fast move all the way down against that Quagsire in the back. They do end up shielding, so I think I'm going to commit a shield myself and see what they want to do. In comes another Air Cutter. I'm going to throw a Charge Attack here before they can get another Gust off, especially after that boost. I don't want to take any unnecessary chip damage, and unless that Quagsire is running Mud Bomb here, I'm pretty sure I can survive an Aqua Tail and get a lot of fast move pressure into them. I'm going to no-shield. I feel like no matter what, even if they are on Mud Bomb, I can Mud Slap this all the way down with their Claydol. They actually are on Mud Bomb. That's a cool moveset. But Mud Slap is going to way outpace the damage here of Mud Shot. Claydol able to close out that backline there. GG to our opponent. With that, able to close out the day here. A bit of a 2-3 to end off the day, but overall on the day, we did go pretty positive. I think it was 14 and 11. That's the number that I'm looking for. And because of that, it was a very good showcase of what this new duo can do. Tinkaton is a very powerful Pokemon right now. Finding the right core for it is a fantastic thing to be able to do, because if you have the right Pokemon paired with this pick, you can core break teams. You can make it so, honestly, this duo just shuts down Shadow Sableye, one of the most common Pokemon in the meta. I love these two. I love them paired together. And I think if you want to give a hard meta team a go, this one would be the one to try out. All right, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed the battles and you want to see more content like this on the channel, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a ton, and I would really appreciate it. Thank you again for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.